What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So I had the pleasure of stopping by one of our content creators' channel, and some of you who have been in the space with the superhero genre and some of the variety content may know this YouTuber as Spidey. And they reached out to me and said, we should basically talk about a few things regarding Gotham Knights. And we had a really cool conversation. The conversation spanned for somewhere around 20 minutes. But one really cool thing about this is I'd love for you guys to engage with the content and let me hear your thoughts, because this is a very interesting topic. And if you're at work, or maybe if you're in your car, or maybe if you're doing something, I feel like this is probably really suitable for you to just kind of like kick it and play, and then just kind of walk through this entire conversation we had regarding Gotham Knights, the gaming industry, and Marvel's Avengers. So without any further ado, I'd like to have you jump into the content. At the end of the video, if you make it to the end, please leave comments. And by the way, also check out his YouTube channel, which I have a link in the description for. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much, and hopefully we'll talk very soon. Peace out.
And today I have a very special guest with me, VGFightSchool, or Video Game Fight School, as you may know him. If you could, please say hi.
Hey, what's up, folks?
And today we are going to be talking a lot about Gotham Knights, but mainly why Gotham Knights shouldn't be compared to Marvel's Avengers. Now, recently on YouTube, I've just been seeing a lot of videos where people go over how Marvel's Avengers and Gotham Knights have a few similarities, and they keep saying that Gotham Knights is just going to end up just like how Avengers has. And I mean, I don't really think so, but what do you think?
That's a very interesting perspective to look at, both games from. I think at the heart of it, it's coming from a place of trust or distrust. If you wanted to, kind of scale it down, a lot of people perceived Marvel Avengers to be one thing, and then when the game was released, it wasn't necessarily what they had perceived. And what's even crazy, and it's interesting that you brought this topic up, it's crazy because I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, Marvel's Avengers had two betas. It had a beta for people who had pre-ordered, and then it had another beta for everybody that could actually come in and play the game. Now, the only challenge was that beta was a very small portion, in a sense, and didn't necessarily have people sink their teeth into what the game was going to be. And still, some people went in with the same perceptions that they had, and the fandom wanted to give it a try and didn't necessarily seem to be on board with the plan that the developers had. Obviously, it was clear that the game was going to be a monetized platform, like a heavily monetized platform. A lot of things were emphasized on just let's get that money, buy skins, all of this stuff. And people wanted some meat and potatoes to the gameplay. Another thing, too, is the previous superhero games that were more mainstream that had been delivered were, single-player games. I mean, you had Marvel Spider-Man, you had the Arkham games, and then, going back, even the other old games like Shattered Dimension, Spider-Man, Edge of Time, Amazing Spider-Man. These were single-player games that emphasized story and all of these different elements. And for Marvel Avengers to not focus on those elements, not saying Marvel's Avengers didn't have them, but for them not to focus on them seemed to be a place that just caught gamers off guard. So now that Gotham Knights is here, it has a co-op side of it. It's shifted away from that single player formula just a little bit. It already has just raised bells and alarms for some of the gamers, and I think that's why people are responding to it that way.
I feel like with Gotham Knights, because they've made it so that way, you're not forced to have any extra teammates that you don't want, or sometimes don't even need. That helps also keep it away from Marvel's Avengers. One of the things that I didn't really love about that game, among several other things, was that it forced you to have teammates. And oftentimes that can be good, but other times it can just feel like it's unnecessary. Like you can't really just play it by yourself, because it always feels like you have these random teammates that can't really get the job done how they should. And so by making it so that way you don't have to have that, and so that way you can really just be able to play it with yourself or with one other person, I feel like that helps give Gotham Knights a bit of needed separation from Marvel's Avengers. Um, Another thing that I feel like helps keep it away from that is one of the things that everybody knows in regards to Marvel's Avengers is that it was very much so not necessarily a cash grab, but it relied heavily on monetization and on
Hmm.
making money. That was what their whole goal was, and so that was why they made all their deluxe content free and whatnot, because they knew that the whole goal was to make money off of their skins. But seemingly, so far at least, when it comes to Gotham Knights, it doesn't really seem like they're planning on taking that monetization route. No doubt they might try and go the Batman Arkham Knight and have people pay for their deluxe content, like how most games do.
Hmm.
And maybe we're also gonna have to pay for skins in that game, but so far they haven't really showed it that way. I feel like if they were planning on making it so that we would have to pay for skins and styles and whatnot, we they would showcase that already. So that way it's not really too much of a unwanted surprise.
Yeah, very very correct. But from now till October is a long time, and again, I'm approaching from the position of skepticism. From the way I cover this game, many people are still not convinced that I'm a fan. They think I'm a huge critic. You know what I mean? Because I'm exercising a lot of caution. And already we've had one major change. No more last generation, versions of this game. That's a significant change. In fact, that's a bigger change than no microtransact. If they said, "Oh, right now there will be microtransactions, but you're still going to get it on the PlayStation," that's actually a minor change compared to a whole generation vaporized. So people are still trying to get a feel for where their message is. And until release, it's going to be hard for people to be able to say, okay, we believe them. Because, again, largely, and I'm sure you've been following gaming in the past, say, I don't know, 6 years, five,
Yeah.
6 years, there is a huge amount of distrust between gamers and developers overall. And the reason this distrust continues to fester is not necessarily because of all developers and all publishers. It's because some developers and, big developers, big names, when they make a huge trust breach, it's huge. If an indie game studio did something minor, many people will forget about it. But when EA does microtransactions like they do to Battlefront 2, or when Cyberpunk 2077, which was the most hyped game for like 6-7 years, when you bring out a version of PlayStation that's not necessarily the case, or when Warner Brothers games came out with Shadow of War and they brought out a microtransaction store of some kind, these things have violated trust, and trust is built over years. There has not been enough time to heal for the community to be able to say, even though you wrote it down here and they've written it already, there will be no, in-game purchases of any kind. It's in the FAQs. Many people are still skeptic. It's a skepticism that I think they have, well, gaming industry at large kind of brought upon itself. But this is not to say that, Gotham Knights is going to be anything like Marvel Avengers. I'm just saying that it's the perception that has been created over time. And yes, you are correct. There are indicators to show that Gotham Knights is separating itself from Marvel's Avengers, but again, Marvel Avengers is actually still kind of fresh in the minds of a lot of people. It's only been about 2 years. So, yeah, hasn't really gone away. And I guess I have to say this. The whole drama for Marvel's Avengers, it dragged on. There were these
Yeah.
issues where devs were making fun of devs and saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
but that drama just dragged into." They could have just shut up and went into hiding like EA. EA has been in hiding for like the past 4 years. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like they've been just
Yeah.
under the radar. They're just enjoying that lack of publicity. They haven't really, stirred up the waters. They've just tried their best to be very low profile, because after Anthem, after all of these things, they just realized, man, we got to really back away from the public eye, and our executives need to shut up and stop, saying nonsense. Like the Battlefield, was it Battlefield 5 or whatever, where the executive said to the community, if you don't like it, don't buy it, all these things. But that's what the Marvel Avengers team, they went ahead and did the opposite. They started dragging their dirty laundry out, and so people kept remembering the whole thing. So the debacle is probably not even 2 years old. It's probably still about a year old. So it's still fresh on the minds of a lot of people. And so again, you still see those small elements lingering through the whole conversation.
And yeah, a lot of that is very, very true. One thing that you brought up, that I'm glad that you brought up, was the fact that when it comes to new games coming out, and even old games, the way that we as the customers, or the ones that are playing it, it all comes down to our trust of the devs and of the people that help make the game what it is. And I feel like one of the reasons why people, if not comparing it to Avengers, are putting criticisms on Gotham Knights, is because we haven't really gotten too much in regards to news about the game. I mean, like, we've gotten bits and pieces over the years, because it was first announced, I believe, back in 2020. But as of currently, we only have, I think, 4, 5-ish kind of trailers, because there was a behind the scenes trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And those are helpful. Those are great to have, because they give us new information about the game and new gameplay. And they give us all the information that we need, essentially. But I feel like if we had most of these trailers come out either earlier, or if there was slightly more trailers, or more just news from the devs, people would have more trust in the success of this game. Because as of currently, a lot of people are really doubting how well the game will do in the future.
Yes, yes. And that's the basis. So it's gonna have to prove itself by releasing a quality game. And I think Gotham Knights is gonna be on that. It's gonna be that game where, yep, we're gonna have to see it to believe it, in a sense. I mean, yeah, some of us are pre-ordering, some of us are already out there ready to get our hands on the game, but at this rate, it's still all in the evaluative process. You know what I mean? Anybody that's
Yeah.
making a decision anyway is still uncertain. Whether you're, even if you're in a place where you're like, oh, this game is not going to be good, you're uncertain about that. You don't know. And if you say, oh, this game is going to be, bad, or whatever decision or whatever direction you're taking, you still are not certain. And you're correct. They have not necessarily had a very streamlined marketing theme going on. It's been choppy, one thing here, one thing there, delay here, delay there, and it a lot of things are you can factor a lot of things in there, but yes, it is very true that these different factors are going to really play into how gamers actually see or engage with the game when it comes out.
Mm. Now, like you said, the game has been it was delayed. I don't think we ever actually heard what the original date for it was. I believe some people speculated that it was going to be around July, because at one point the devs um, posted a picture that had a like poster of the Flying Graysons on it, and it said July something or June something, and so everybody thought that, and then it got delayed. And so far, with what we've seen in terms of gameplay, do you think that do you think that the delay will have given them enough time to make it, or do you think it needs another delay? Or because we still have several months to go before we actually get to have our hands on it, and we might at one point get a beta test, hopefully. But what do you think in terms of the delay?
Man, that's a very good question. I don't know. I guess, and all this is hypothetical, right? We're just speculating based on what we think, because we may never know the truth until like 6 years later, when somebody on Twitter is like, "Oh, in 2020, I was on the team that was gonna ship Gotham," and then they bring this whole
Yeah.
thread telling us like, "Oh, this is what happened." I think genuinely the game was possibly slated for a 2021 release at any rate.
Mm.
They revealed it in 2020. I think the game was actually revealed for a 2021 release. I don't think there was anything
Yeah.
stopping it from coming out in 2021, but factors did not necessarily line up. You already had all the restrictions, based on COVID and regions that already limited the Canadian team because Canada had a lot of very strict measures in terms of workplace and safety and all of the above. They had more strict measures than, say, the United States or even some other countries like, say, in Europe and all.
Yeah.
And so that already affected, development and the way games were made. And so that being put in perspective, you already saw that as a delay mechanism that kind of set the game back already. Add to that, and I made so many comments regarding this because Cyberpunk suffered from that. Remember, we saw this game reveal in August, and then we got the Cyberpunk debacle in December. So everybody was like, whoa, how does a hype game come out in this state, right? And in the reviews, they told the reviewers not to show the PlayStation 4 version. They gave the reviewers a PC version and all of that. I think Gotham Knights was in the same place at that time. I think they were having the same issues with being able to stitch that game to play on the past generation of consoles. And so with that, they did not necessarily want to commit to any release date. So like you said, you don't think we ever got any release date. They put out that little poster and all that. I think they were hopeful that they'll be able to get things sorted by that, summer of 2021, but it probably just didn't happen. The execs are probably looking, going, yo, what's going on? Game's not ready, boss. What's going on? Game's not ready, boss. And so they just necessarily, could not imagine. I don't think they could imagine, oh my gosh, we're not going to have this game ready for the biggest possible install base on the planet.
Yeah.
And I think those decisions just continue to weigh down on the further progress of the game in terms of streamlining. And again, another thing that kind of clues me into that is the developers at CD Projekt Red, when they delayed the game from November to December, they specifically mentioned that part of the issues that they were facing was optimizing the game across all the different platforms. Remember, I don't know if you remember that I think the CEO of CD Projekt Red, he put out this little statement, and on that statement that was mentioned that they had to balance the game and optimize the game. It said optimize the game across PlayStation, Xbox Series, all of the different whatevers, and that was a huge task, and they needed just a little bit more time. I think the same thing was happening with Gotham Knights, because Unreal Engine 4 is interesting to make open world games in. I used to always perceive that, but Digital Foundry finally confirmed my suspicions. In fact, I don't know if you've seen the latest Digital Foundry, well, not latest, but one of their last few podcast episodes. They said a few things about the new Gotham Knights gameplay. I think it's worth a watch. It's already all timestamped, so you don't even have to watch everything else. You just go in there and click to the Gotham Knights timestamp, and you're going to hear what they said about Unreal Engine 4 and why they think the game is not, coming to the PlayStation 4. So I think that was the biggest aspect of the whole no commitment to a release date and all those delays.
All right. Well, I guess before we end this, I should say, since it's, I guess, getting close to 20 minutes now, I guess, what would you say? This is more of like I guess an interview question. Would you say you're most, I guess, excited for in regards to Gotham Knights? Because there's a lot to be hopeful for. We're supposedly supposed to be getting, a larger open world than any of the previous Arkham games, possibly more villains than the Arkham games. It's going to be, a very, I guess, exciting and probably busy open world. So what would you say are you most excited for?
Oh, that is a that's a loaded question. Let me be very honest with you. At
All
this
right.
point, right? I've run over this game with a fine comb.
Yes.
Um, and it wasn't because I wanted to be super detailed in how I looked at the game. I just was so excited and happy. I created the Video Game Fight School channel because of the news that we would be getting another game in this, Batman. I thought it was a Batman game, right? We all thought it was a Batman game,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so when we found out, and you start looking at excitement, and we saw the reveal, and we were like, oh, Batman's dead, huh? That by itself killed a lot of excitement for most of us.
Mm.
So our hopes was that, okay, as we keep seeing more and more of this game, we're gonna get excited and possibly kind of latch on in a big way. Like, this is the Bat family. It's all about loyalty. But the devs and the whole marketing, not necessarily the devs, I need to say the marketing did not really give us much. When
Yeah.
we saw the 2020 reveal, and we didn't see anything till October the next year.
Yeah. That was
Yikes.
not great.
From August to, October. So that kind of distance was not necessarily helpful. And so if you ask me what I'm more excited about Gotham Knights is just the fact that thank God this game is going to finally get off their hands so that they can work on that rumored Superman project that they've been
Yes.
working on. Because at some point, like this game is their first I would say, how do I put it? It's their major independent release. Yes, Arkham
Yeah.
Origins they made, but
That was
Arkham
a part of the
Origins,
Arkham series.
yes, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw or if you've seen that interview that was conducted with Ben Mattis. He was the studio executive at that time. When they gave them the project, they called up Rocksteady, and Rocksteady sent them code, assets,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything. So, but this is their baby. So this
Yeah.
this is going to teach them a lot of lessons, what they need to do. And I think those lessons being carried over to their next game is actually what I'm more excited for than
Mm.
even Gotham Knights itself. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I want Gotham Knights to succeed, but
Yes,
I
of course.
can't say that the game gives me much to be excited for other than they're going to get to learn, become a stronger studio, and now they're going to get their hands in the mix and then go. This is not to say that there aren't elements in Gotham Knights that I'm looking forward to. No, 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 no. My brain is weird, so I'm already looking forward. Now that I know there's a release date, I'm like, I wonder when that Superman game's going to come out. It's just the way my brain works. Right. So I'm happy to play, and engage in the combat, engage in all of those things that are already there. I want to play against Batgirl. I want to catch Mr. Freeze again. I like fighting against him. I like dealing with him in all the games that I've played so far. Arkham City, I really enjoyed his addition. The Penguin is here. I like the classic rogue gallery for Batman. The Court of Owls, we haven't really seen that mystery about them. The way they were teased, they seemed really mysterious. You know what I mean?
I'm
We
I'm
haven't.
I'm excited to see how they handle that storyline, because the storyline heavily deals with Bruce Wayne and
Mm-hmm.
Batman and them knowing who he is, but
Mm-hmm.
without him in the mix as much, I'm wondering how they're gonna tackle that.
That's also another thing too. It seems a little different. I think they sat down in a meeting and thought about the most ambitious off the cuff thing they could pull off. Right? They made a list
Yeah, yeah,
and then they picked the hardest one. And so I guess this is a matter of my faithlessness in a sense. It's not and versus their own belief in themselves. And they really, and I'm hoping that they do well so that I can say, oh, whew, sigh of relief. But I'm on edge. I'm scared. I'm a fan. I'm like, man, I don't really know how this is going to play out, because the reason I'm saying this is because, like I've said, we've been in this space for a while. you know what's gonna happen if this game does not deliver, right?
Yeah.
We're all gonna get chewed up and spat out. Not just the game, all of us, the fans,
Yes.
we're gonna get beaten on the head with with the internet hammer, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just holding on and just saying, okay, I'm excited about some things, but let's just get this game out of the way and see how things go for now. And boy, if the game turns out to be good, man, I'm gonna be yelling. I'm gonna make videos like every hour, like, yo, do you see this, man? Do you see this? Like, you know, I'm gonna be hyping this thing up. But at the same time, I really want to be as reserved as I can in terms of my excitement with everything.
All right, yeah. So I guess you're kind of taking the more, keep your expectations low.
Oh,
That way
yes.
you won't be disappointed.
Hey,
Right?
Kratos, man, 2018, Kratos 2018. Even though it's been said before, but you know, he basically etched it on our minds. So,
All right. Well then, I guess that will wrap up today's video. Thank you once again for agreeing to do this. This was this was great, is what it was.
it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be able to, you know, hop into conversations in the community at any time. So, all right, so far so good. I'm sure you've heard our opinions on, you know, the conversation at large, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. And for those of you who basically were able to, you know, just engage in the content, your feedback will be very much appreciated. And if you have any comments, go ahead and leave them. And do not forget to check out Spidey's YouTube channel, which I've left a link in the description. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all. So peace out.